The Nation Network presents Coming in Hot.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Coming in Hot. I'm Brent Wallace alongside special co-host Jason York. Yorkie, great to see you as always. This show is always brought to you by Renfrew Pro Hockey Tape. Go to renfrewpro.com. Also get them at the local retailers of like Pro Hockey Life, Canadian Tire, Sport Check, and all that stuff, as this show is held together literally by Renfrew Pro Tape. Yorkie, this is the last time I let you book guests. It is Alfie week. You have done a phenomenal job, but you went out and booked defenseman. I think it was just a ploy to get to be able to talk D for the entire show.
Well, not only that, yesterday we had Arvie on, Magnus Arvidsson, who was actually a forward that you can trust as a defenseman, Selke runner-up. And how good was Arv yesterday, by the way, Wally? Like, he came on so nervous about his English, but I thought he was great, especially that story of how he became the machine. But when Reds and Philly come on, they'll tell you the same thing. Defensemen stick together. There's a rule of thumb. Any good defenseman will tell you this. You never, ever trust a forward. Make an exception, though, for the machine, Magnus Arvidsson.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to what they may have to say as Alfie Week continues here on Coming in Hot. Let's just, get right to it, because we've got Chris Phillips and Wade Redden standing by. They played forever with Alfie, two of the longest serving players. In fact, Philly played 15 years, if I'm not mistaken, alongside Wade Redden. Now, I did look up, gentlemen, before we begin, the last time that three of you, Alfie, Philly, and Reds played together, 14 and a half years ago.
Jesus.
I know, Wade. Wow.
How'd that
happen? It doesn't seem that long ago, though, right?
No, it doesn't.
Sure doesn't.
When I look at a picture of myself in that day, though, it does look like 14 years, actually. We're all getting older.
Of all the people, you're the one that doesn't age at all.
Oh, no. Look, yeah, I can see the details.
Well, what are you saying, Wally? What are you saying about poor Philly over then? That's
no kidding.
Hey, Philly.
Listen, Philly's a VP now, so he's got a lot of stress on. By the way, congratulations on your new role to both of you.
Thank you.
Chris Phillips, those of you who don't know, VP of Business Operations for the Ottawa Senators, which is a perfect lead-in, by the way, just to say there's a lot going on with the organization. If at any time during this show you would like to say anything about it, feel free, but I will not ask you any questions about what's going on.
I appreciate that. On to the next topic.
Let's get
before we get going, though, I want all the viewers to look at the skates behind Yorkie, and for them to know that is not my skate with a 4 on it. That was probably for my time.
Go on, Philly. I thought those were yours from year one, weren't they? The 4s on there.
I do recognize. Yeah.
That's from a good friend of ours, Tony Harris. Those are both Tony Harris paintings. The one's obviously Bobby Orr and Wayne Gretzky with the old blue blades there. Eh, Reds? Remember those things? Those were legendary.
Oh, I remember. I recognize those.
I was just going to give them the same shout out. I have the number 4 skate at the cottage hanging up.
Yeah, it's a great pick there. And Philly, I see that's a Tony piece behind you. We all know that one. That was given to you. Was that for your 1000th game, Philly, that pick?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't like the zoom in, but that's the one.
Hey, Reds, tell us what. Okay, I know you've always been a music guy. You were involved with a surf company as well. What's with the guitars? Is there any kind of thing going on? Like what's with? Explain the guitars behind you.
Well, actually, the one on this one here, that was a gift from Danica, a Christmas present. It's a nice guitar I've had for quite a while. The ukulele in the middle, and actually this one I bought from John Gervais. Remember Woody, obviously our equipment manager back in the day. His dad was a guitar player, and I think had whatever reason couldn't play anymore. And I bought that off of Woody's dad. So I've had that. I haven't really used it too much, but it's a nice, really beautiful guitar. And
Yeah. Well,
I've been playing a little over the years. I guess Andre Waugh was one of Philly and I, to be honest, took a few lessons, young guys back in the day. And so got started then, and then had a lot of fun with it over the years. I've plateaued probably after that first few lessons with Philly, but improved a bit so it can carry a few tunes. But looking back, Andre Waugh, we had lots of good laughs. He'd always make up songs when we have team parties and stuff. And but yeah, a little bit of music.
I can remember Andre Waugh. Every single song would come from a Guns N' Roses Patience, and he would change the words to the song, and all of a sudden he'd bring in 10 guys from the team and put it in the song. Remember, I think we were staying at the Holiday Inn for the playoffs, and Andre put the guitar out and just went to town. Kind of reminds me of you, Philly. I can remember a particular Halloween party. You grabbed the guitar in the basement. I think it might have been Sean McEachran's basement. And it was right when you started taking lessons, man. And the years will never be the same after that. But
no,
you still playing?
But you know what? That was a little bit, but I don't think I've improved any over the last whatever that was 25 years ago. But that was our New Year's Y2K party. We thought the world was going to end the next day, and
That's
the old
right.
McEachran. We didn't die, and McEachran's kicked us out at 12:01.
That's right. We all thought the
vacuum. Everyone had to lift their feet. The vacuum was running by 12:01, and everyone's lifting their feet at the couch and getting it out.
I remember old McEachran. We used to give it to him because we'd say he never left Canada. When we'd go out after a game, he'd be in his bed tucked in by midnight, just like the party. Everyone out by midnight. But hey, listen, I appreciate you guys coming on today. I'm just filling in here for a month with Wally, but I thought with this week in particular, with Alfie going to the Hall of Fame, I know you two guys are going to be there next week in Toronto. So I could ask you the obvious question, something on the ice, but do you guys have you guys played with them pretty well the longest, Philly. I know you did. Reds quite a long time as well. A funny story you could maybe share about Alfie, whether it's in the dressing room, during a game, off the ice. I'll start with you, Reds. Maybe something that some people might not know about Alfie.
Oh, God. I mean, I should have been prepared. You actually prepared me for this, but
I sent you the notes.
There's so many good ones. No, there's so many good ones. I mean, Alfie and I, like you said, it was my first year coming in. It was his second year, and I just always had a tight bond with him, just as obviously on the ice, and playing with him was such a pleasure just because he made everyone around him better, and I benefited certainly in those regards. But even I remember we roomed together for a bit too, and he's obviously well known for being competitive in everything he does, but we had a few chess games and stuff like that. But I think he duped me one time. We were playing chess on the road, and he always had the snooze going up, like he had that Swedish chew he had in his mouth. The chew, yeah. But he gave me one of those before a chess match, and before you know it, I couldn't even, my head was spinning, and he just took advantage of me on the chessboard. But no, he was great. I mean, obviously, I was so excited for him to be being inducted, and well deservedly so. But he was a lot of fun to be around. Even the style, where there's lots of talk in the room about style, and Arvi, bring him up again. He is always claiming that Swedish was 5 years ahead of the style in North America and stuff. But I remember Alfie showing up to a year-end golf tournament one time, and he had this bright, like lime green and forest green, every piece of green you can think of. But he, just like he was on the ice, he wore it with confidence, and probably the only guy in that team that could have worn it. But they had some different outfits.
You know what? I remember Arvidsson saying that where he'd say it in that language, and we joked about this. The Swedish guys couldn't understand him, and the English guys couldn't stand it. Like, I think, what do we name that language? We called it like Marv that he spoke, And he's like, we're 5 years ahead of you. But the difference was Arv couldn't wear the clothes like Alfie could because he couldn't pull it off, didn't have the swagger.
Yeah.
What about you, Philly? Like you've known Alfie probably the longest out of all the guys that played for the Senators. Anything that kind of sticks out for you?
Well, it's funny that you went there, but I was trying to think of some stories that we would be allowed to share to the public, and one of the first memories I have, my first season, he was holding out, so we get to California, and where he joins the team, and he just showed up with these bright white dress shoes, and I'm kind of fresh out of Western Canada, and polar extreme from these fancy shoes. I couldn't believe anyone would even wear them, and let alone I think he probably paid $2,000 or something like that at the time for them. Anyways, I had a good laugh about that, and certainly he was a cutting edge fashion guy. Obviously, every time you bring up a picture of him, he had a different haircut. He'd show up for training camp. You didn't know what was going to be the style of the new do for that season. He was like Jennifer Aniston. The two of them, they just had different haircuts every season. But that he was, as Brent said, he wore it with confidence.
Well, he would even.
I know there's a couple. Go ahead, Reds.
No,
Go ahead.
No, I don't know if it was just he just didn't care. I even went to his wedding, and he got this new. If you ever see his wedding pictures, he's got the worst haircut for his wedding, but he's like, whatever, doesn't matter. He's just got like the long hair, and then it's just like a total undercut. I don't know what he was thinking, but he didn't care. Like that was part of I guess that's part of being able to wear or rock different clothing or whatever to pull it off. I remember even one time at the end of the year, I don't know, we were shaving our beards or something off from playoffs, and he just took like a bunch off the side of his, and he didn't care. Like he was like, whatever, no big deal. It'll grow back.
A couple of things that stick out for me, guys, and I told this story the other day. I don't know if you remember that cartoon where it's the dog and the sheepdog. They meet up and they, good morning, Ralph. Good morning, Sam. And that cartoon there, I'd always meet up with Alfie in the stick room. And I remember he was just a notorious guy for working on his stick back when guys used to work on their sticks. And I'd meet him there, and we'd be in there for 20 minutes talking about curves. The only difference was his stick actually put up points. And I think it didn't matter. I think I was just in there because I wanted to chat with Alfie and talk about things. And the other thing is, do you remember when Alfie used to squat? How deep he would go when he was doing him and Andreas Dackel. I used to call them the squatting Swedes. I'd say they'd come in with the full muscle outfits with the wrestling tights on. Obviously, they didn't, but I made that up in my head. And those two used to put about 450 on the bar, and their asses would touch the ground when they squatted. You guys remember that? And I was like watching. I'm like, this looks painful. And that's the one thing, just to be a little serious, Alfie trained really, really hard. And for guys that you classify as a star player, Philly, I don't know if there's many guys in the game that trained as hard as Alfie did.
He was, that's what made him such a great captain was, he led by example, and he worked hard. He showed up to camp, in great shape. Throughout the season, he was always in the gym when we had to be there and doing it, in there on his own time, on the ice. He was, the first guy out there, definitely the last guy out there, just, even if it was just playing keep away, he just wanted to be out there, working on his skills. But, to go along with how he was just dedicated to his craft, I think it was right around when the one pieces were coming out, and, one company would, have the sticks. I think there was like 110 grams, 105 grams, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, so if, I can't remember exactly what it is, but if his stick was 110 grams, he'd pick it up and he'd be like, I don't believe it. It feels too light. It's too heavy. To the point where they finally brought in a scale and they were weighing his stick to make sure that it was 110 grams exactly. And if it wasn't, he would get rid of it. To your point, I went in and, if somebody taped my stick for me, I would be happy and I would take it off the shelf and go and use it. And that's how precise he was to the game.
Yeah.
Philly, I have a question for you.
And Reds, maybe
let me just
on your part
hang on,
well,
Yorkie. I got
Alfie,
one question.
Sorry, well,
I just want to ask Philly this question. Philly, you're very even-keeled, a lot like Alfie is. So, in the room, did Alfie ever get upset? Did he ever, was he ever angry? I've never seen him really angry. So I'm just curious if there was ever a game that he got really vocal.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't very often. But there was one time, I think it was down in Tampa Bay, and Chris Neal, I believe, has maybe already told the story. And if not, I'll tell it anyways. But I think he got in a fight with someone. Again, the years, they all blend them together. I can't remember exactly what happened. Or who he fought, but I think Nealer just went out and fought someone, and I think Tampa Bay, we may have scored, and then Nealer went out and fought whoever wanted to try and get Tampa Bay going, and I think Tampa might have scored right after that. Anyways, we came in the first intermission, and Alfie blasted Nealer, for it being a selfish fight, and you can't do that, and fast forward, I think the same thing happened. It might have been Chris Digman that challenged Nealer again, and I think he had Alfie in the back of his head, telling him what he when he can and when he can't, and to pick his spots, and I think Dinger ended up getting an extra penalty, got on the power play, and won the game. I could be off on some of those facts, but vaguely that's how I remember it going. And certainly the one time that I definitely remember Alfie going off.
Yeah, because he's very quiet, and nobody really discusses perhaps the fiery competitor that he is and what he was like in the room. And so that's what I was always curious about. And what was, I guess, the cup final like? Was he pretty quiet during that time?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, he's ultra competitive, but he wasn't a yeller and screamer. You knew what he was thinking. And you saw the frustration, I think, in game 4, and maybe came close to hitting Niedermayer with a shot after the whistle, and it's well talked about. But he was uber competitive at everything. Talk about ping pong, golf. He tried to mess up Red so he could beat him at chess. It didn't matter. He wanted to win everything. But like I said, he picked his spots, but he wasn't a yeller and screamer.
Reds, I'll ask you this just to play on what Wally asked. And you played in Boston, you played in St. Louis, you played for the Rangers, played with a lot of different guys. Do you think too much is put into that when people talk about what's said in the room? Like, for you, what makes a good leader? Is it talking or what you do on the ice?
Well, more backing it up on the ice. Obviously, you got to be able to bring that side of it to have some, credibility and stuff like that. But Alfie did, and it wasn't like he was not scared to say stuff. He spoke his mind, and but wasn't a guy. I mean, I think you're right. It is a lot made into it that maybe watching too many Hollywood movies or something where there's big speeches going on and everyone's getting all inspired. But that certainly can happen, and guys say things that have effect on people. And I remember one time it was actually Alfie stood up, and it wasn't a negative. It was actually a positive. But we lost game 1 in Philadelphia, and this always stuck out to me that I forget, it would have been the year we beat him in 5, I guess. So we lost game 1 in overtime, 1-0. But Alfie got up after and just spoke, and we had such a great game. And I think him getting up and saying how great we played, and basically we're going to win this series, and that kind of stuck out to me. And well, sure enough, we came back. I think Patty Lalin had 3 straight shutouts after that, but we won the series. But even, he was such a guy, talk about working on the sticks and working on his body. Like, he was such a feel guy. Like, if he needed something and his stick wasn't quite feeling right, it could be the same stick that he had scored a hat trick with, but this day it wasn't feeling right. So he was always tinkering, always feeling what worked, what didn't with his legs. I remember sometimes after games, we'd have, a day off or something. He'd be in the hallway jumping up and down I remember joining him a few times to do that, and your legs are sore for like 3 days after. But he's like, my legs weren't, whatever he'd say to himself, my legs, I got to do something more. So he's jumping or he's doing squats. Like, those guys, yeah, they're always just a feel for everything. And whatever, if he needed to do something, he did it. And he was always kind of assessing where he was at and what he needed. And that's kind of what kept pushing him day after day.
Philly, you've got the games played record for the Ottawa Senators. You've made this your home. You work for the team right now. Can you put your finger on this first modern day Ottawa Senator going into the Hall of Fame? Like, what do you think to you? Like, what does this mean?
Yeah, that's and a tough one, to really sum that up. But you look at the Senators franchise and compare it to, everyone else in the league, in the game, you're still relatively young. You go to other rinks and, you see 15, seems like jerseys hanging in the rafters, and just a, historic past, and, someone won Stanley Cups and the history that they all have. And, I think, we're still kind of a baby when it comes to, those discussions, still relatively new, and to see, what, you have to do, the type of player you have to be to go into the Hall of Fame, for him to really, really take off from kind of year one, when, you listen to his stories of what the team was like, the amount of losses that they had, and what he went through, and, coming from Sweden, to Canada, on really a kind of a losing team that year, and the stories on and off the ice. It's actually very comical to hear him talk about them, but, how he had to really persevere through, all of that. And, obviously being a huge part of the team, as we, had a great run from the late 90s, for, better part of over 10 years, being the catalyst of that, really is remarkable. Being able to, achieve that and have that longevity to, be in a historic place like the Hall of Fame.
Reds, I'll ask you the same
interesting
question.
you bring that up. Go ahead.
Wally.
Yeah,
I wanted to get Reds' take on that.
Well, yeah, no, I guess it's, Philly kind of, obviously, from a standpoint of the organization and what he's meant to that team. I mean, there's no bigger influence, no better face of the franchise than him. And just my one point on that is just the way he did it. I mean, and you look at all the guys that are in the Hall of Fame, and deservedly so, but just their passion, their commitment, just, what they've done to the game and how they did it day in, day out, right? So it's it's so impressive, so deserving for him.
And Philly, you talk about the babiness, or how young the Ottawa Senators is. 21 players have played 400 or more games for the Ottawa Senators. It's crazy. It's a small number of how many guys there have been to stick around. And I think of you two, and I think of Alfie and Neeler, and Mike Fisher's, a few others, of guys who have ended up playing over 1,000 games through their career. But the fact of, Alfie and Philly and Neeler being able to do it in Ottawa is phenomenal. Did you guys appreciate how good this group was in the early 2000s, late 90s?
Yeah, I don't know if we appreciate it or not. In some ways, I think that's what helped us out was, we were too young to know. I don't want to use the term young and dumb, but we were just a bunch of young guys really having a lot of success, just enjoying it, day by day, coming to work, doing the best we could, having fun both on and off the ice, just a great group of guys. We had a great core of guys together for a long time. And looking back, it's a bit of both. I'm, extremely proud and honored to be a part of those years and how much success we had when you look at winning versus losing. And, at the same time, how disappointing it is almost that, we're, it's funny to say, it's almost embarrassing to say that, I think, we could have had a dynasty. But, I think that's how close we were, for, 4 or 5 years in a row that, we're, close to, being able to win championships year after year, and unfortunately have nothing to show for it. But that's the, the quality and of guys and teams that I thought we had.
So true. Right? Like
who's
we were, as media
was,
people and fans, were jealous.
Yeah. By the way, whose dog was that? Your dog, Reds? Reds, was that your dog?
Yeah,
by the way?
I got a dog. Yeah. Bugger. Someone come to the door. The multi-poo. That was a high pitch, wasn't it? Sorry to interrupt. Archie's going to get a talking to after this. But little bugger. No, but it was special days for sure. Listening to Philly, obviously being there. There was lots of guys that were a big piece of that, and a big core of guys that just really relate to them, I guess, with those teams. And, obviously Yorkie and Sean Van Allen coming in. There was a whole kind of surge of guys coming in right when I got there. Sean McEachran, another name we chatted about. Arvidsson, Philly came in the next year. But yeah, there was a lot of talented guys and built kind of how they're building teams now, right? Through the draft. All young guys, kind of every year, another guy coming in and contributing, but coming into a team that kind of had something going, and then they'd come and kind of join the the ride kind of thing and fall in, and everyone kind of had a similar mindset and unselfishness to them to kind of help the team. So it was really special. And yeah, looking back at those days, for sure we got close, and that kind of still, something that you look back, there's plays that happen in some of those games that you think back to still today. But at the end of the day, there's so many great memories of those years together. And it was pretty special. And yeah, and kind of to be with Alfie now, to see him go into the Hall, it kind of, and even to be at his jersey retirement, be at Philly's jersey retirement, like those are special things to remember. So it's fun for old guys like us to kind of be there for it.
We are those guys now, aren't we?
Exactly.
I don't know. Reds, you're doing something there. You doing some injections or something there? What's going on? Look at that face. A lot of moisturizer or something there.
No, I was out shoveling snow. That's the key.
There you go.
Get out
Good
there shoveling.
out west.
Rosy
just
cheeks.
like Gord taught you, a solid day's work will keep you young.
Yeah, Gord's still abiding by those same words.
Oh boy! Hey, how about
before
that?
We let
way,
both of
Wally?
you go? What's that?
Like, how about? Well, I got one more. I just brought up Reds' dad, and how great was that over the years, Philly? Gord would come to the rink, and it was like he just waltzed into that place and just a fixture in there for so many years, eh? I miss your dad, Reds.
Oh yeah, well he misses it too. And wow, you speak of the team again, but everyone's dad was around there. Like Garth was always around, and my dad and our parents,
Yep.
and Hossa, Alfredsson, and Fishers, Niels, all these guys they were already a part of it, so it was great. And why the hell weren't we doing fathers trips? We should have been starting that whole trend with that. That would have been the best, having all those guys together on a road trip.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
That would have been something else. That's what we'd be talking about right now if we did that back then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wally, you got anything else?
Gord would have been at the front. I do have
yeah.
I got questions for both of you because, and I didn't mention this off the top. Reds is the now the player development coach, and both of you are back with the organization. I'm just curious of what your reaction is to now be back as part of this organization, and to see Alfie now be back, sort of involved with the organization. It's good to see the guys who have been so good, and Neeler as well. It's so important to this organization being part of it as we go forward here.
It is. I think it's great. And guys still care about it too. And I guess the thing that you want to see now is obviously there's a new group of young guys coming in and kind of establishing themselves, and you want to kind of see them find their own path and get some success. And I really feel they're close to doing that. So, but to be around, I think it's great for the community. I think it's great for the organization, and guys got a lot to add. Obviously, we cared about our time there, and we were a part of the community and wanted to do, all those things off the ice as well. So it was a special time. Like I said, it was kind of all encompassing. It was, I remember Roy Malacher having a meeting with all of us. And in those days, there wasn't a lot of fans coming to the rink. So, we took an initiative. Everyone kind of did community events and got a part of, got involved in different things on top of the stuff they were doing already. So even handing out tickets back in the day, like there was empty seats, so they'd give us tickets to give out, just at the Canada Centrum or whatever. So, there's lots of kind of funny stories about that too. But everyone cared about being there and wanted to be there, and that's attributed to our success.
Yeah, absolutely.
Philly, what's it like to have a corner office?
It's good to have an office. It's good to be back, and couldn't agree with Reds more. And for myself, never leaving. Came in here in 1997, and everything that I have is I owe to this team, to this community for how I feel about it, and fortunate. And been able to be involved with it and give back. And I think, that's a part of a responsibility, being a pro hockey player, especially in a hockey community like Ottawa. And as Red said, just to have the guys back to share the stories, both good and bad of what we've gone through and what it means to be an Ottawa Senator, and to have the list of guys that you rattled off, along with Yorkie and Dono and Jesse Winchester, Todd White, Sean Van Allen, all these guys that are around now that is starting to really have a strong alumni presence back with the team, and like you said, able to share that what this team means to us, and vice versa for the young guys with the community, and very, very happy to be a part of it again.
And last question I have, Philly, is there any truth to the rumor that Deadpool has been playing on the video board all day long at the rink?
I haven't got out of my my little hole here in the back in the dungeon, so I'm not sure. I can't talk to that.
Okay, fair enough. I appreciate you guys stopping by. As always, it's always a treat to talk to you guys. I hope to do it again soon.
Awesome.
Pleasure's mine. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us. Great to see you guys.
Thanks, boys. Good luck, or have fun, I should say, on Monday at the Hockey Hall of Fame with Alfie's induction. As always, thank you to Chris Phillips and Wade Redden for stopping by. Yorkie.
Yeah, I cut out.
Oh, worried about you.
Yeah.
It must be fun when you're when you're a player that you've played together for so long, to sit and chat and talk about some old stuff all the time.
Well, I spent a lot of time with both Reds and Philly. When they came in the league, they were young guys. Personally, for me, Ottawa was it was a coming home party for me. I was with Detroit and Anaheim, and I really found a home here in Ottawa. And then those teams and Philly kind of hit on those teams in the '90s. I like to call those the builder years when you put down the foundation, and both Philly and Reds kind of hit on that of what it was to be an Ottawa Senator, the work you put in, and just having good people around. And Reds talked about the stuff we used to do off the ice. Everybody was involved in the community. We had, it was a really cool time for me, being from Ottawa, playing for Ottawa, my parents coming to every game, and then just making friends. And I still keep in contact with Reds. We have ever since we played together. Philly, I see all the time around town, but Philly's right too. The alumni presence in this town, and it takes a while. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yep.
Guys play, they retire. A lot of guys decided to make Ottawa their home, like Philly, for example. And it's been great. Like I know with the way the team, the excitement that was in the summer and the buzz, it was really good to see that buzz back again, because this town used to be buzzing. I know when 2007 you had those good teams, but it was also buzzing when the team was young, and it's a big reason because it was new and the rink was just here. But it was just people were talking about it, and it was positive. And this summer was the first time in a long time those positive vibes were back. And I think now, with all the excitement of talking about who the potential new owner is going to be, and Ryan Reynolds and all this stuff. By the way, I know Ryan Reynolds was on last night on the Tonight Show, and that's where it all came from. This is legit. Like, people I've talked to, this Ryan Reynolds is 100%, and he's not just saying this to promote. He's got a movie coming up and he wants to get his name out there trending. He is legitimately interested in being part of the Ottawa Senators. This is 100% accurate. I'll tell you that for sure.
Well, two things. One, I do know he will be at the game tonight, which is interesting. I just find that, like, he was in LA last night and now he's here in Ottawa. I understand he's legit. I get that part. But could there also be a PR play here? And when I say that, could he he doesn't lose in any of this. If it comes out that he doesn't get to be part owner, then everybody's like, oh, he tried. We were really hoping to have him. He's been great. So even if he doesn't become owner, he's got all this goodwill built up. He's done a lot of good things for this city. Donated to the food bank and all kinds of stuff, and he keeps in touch. I get that. I'm just saying he doesn't. There's no bad thing for him here in this entire part.
No, but there isn't. But last night on the spot, when he was asked, he legitimately said he wanted to be part of it. But also too, I know for a fact that there has been conversations and there is legitimate interest, and it's good for his brand too. Like, when you're involved in professional sports, there's all kinds of social media opportunities of keeping yourself relevant. And I'm not saying that's the number one reason a guy like Ryan Reynolds would want to be involved with the Ottawa Senators, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. And for him, he's obviously a sports guy. He's got the soccer as well. So I think this is awesome. Like, just the amount of attention the Ottawa Senators are getting just from this little snippet that all started with a fan sending a tweet, and then he responding with a little emoji of the thinking about it. And now it's no, this is great. Like, Wally, who would have thought the Ottawa Senators would have been mentioned on the Tonight Show? Like, that's some pretty cool stuff going on.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the Ottawa Senators marketing team could not have asked for anything better. This is phenomenal.
It's a layup,
right? And
yeah,
and it's free. So good for them. This is very good. Like, in fact, I haven't stopped drinking aviation gin for a week now. Just because I'm fully on board with Ryan Reynolds being part owner.
No, for sure. It's good. Like it's you know what they say. Anytime how do you think it works with celebrities? Anytime they're talking about you and your name, your brand is
Yes.
out there, it is good for business. Well, maybe not so much for the Boston Bruins right now, but generally when they're talking about you,
Yeah.
it's a good thing, right?
Yeah. And whatever happens, with this sale, you just feel like it is a very, very positive move forward for this organization. I think whoever comes in to be whatever group it is, consortium, single owner, I don't know, but whatever it is, you just feel like it's such a big positive move forward for this group and for obviously downtown and for the future of this organization.
100%, Wally. 100%. It's positive. It's good, and also too, if you're the Melnick daughters right now, and the buzz going on, you got to be pretty excited as well because it's helping their brand right now as they own the team.
And so, in Yorkie, I'll throw this out here, and it's not fair, but I'm going to do it anyway. That is one thing that Gary Bettman doesn't like a lot of is people talking that they want to buy in.
For
and
sure.
I know your brother has been mentioned it, and I'm not asking you to tell me that Jeff York is trying to buy the Ottawa Senators, but I just want to point out there that do you think Ryan Reynolds being actively campaigning is a good thing, as in it's not going to be a deterrent? If you can go all the way back to Jim Balsillie when he owned BlackBerry or RIM, and he wanted a team in Hamilton and he wouldn't stop talking about it, Gary Bettman shut him down really quickly. And that's always been the case ever since of if you want to be part, you don't say anything.
Well, yeah, but don't forget, Jim Balsillie was trying to sell tickets before I think that's what happened. He was trying to sell tickets before they even had a team.
He was trying to move a team that wasn't moving. Yeah.
Yes, it's a little different between one of the most likable celebrities in the world going on the Tonight Show, talking about a sport that you're trying to get international coverage for. I think Gary Bettman is ecstatic right now that Ryan Reynolds is talking about the NHL. Yeah. And, to answer the question about my brother, I know his name's been out there. And for a guy like my brother, it's exactly right. If you're trying to get involved in something like this, it's better to be in the background. Little different with a guy like Ryan Reynolds, who's out there and doing what he's doing right now. He's just answering questions because he's in the public eye right now. And what he's doing right now, just by being Ryan Reynolds, is great for all parties involved. It's fantastic. And then he has Ottawa roots as well. A little shout out to Vanier last night on the Tonight Show. Vanier and the Tonight Show. Who would have thought those two entities would have come together on the Tonight Show? Just goes to show you, Wally, anything is possible in life.
Yeah, no question. It's exciting. I'm legitimately excited to see how this all plays out, and to have someone that can, I guess, sell your product internationally is a bonus. There's no question.
For sure.
He brings in, if he owns the team, he brings in fans from all over walks of life because they want to see or be part of whatever Ryan Reynolds likes to do. But we'll see how this all plays out. I would just like you to talk to your brother about sponsoring our show. That's all I care about at the moment.
Well, we'll see about that. I'll make some calls.
All right. Let's move on to some news from, I guess, from the Ottawa Senators for today, and brought to you by BEI, Bonisher Excavating, Inc. They are the Valley's leading construction company. You can get a hold of them at bonisherexcavating.com. BEI, helping to shape the Ottawa Valley. They are phenomenal people and always helping to take care of us. Remember to slow down in construction zones. Should we let's start with Pierre Dorion commenting yesterday. There's been a lot of talk about DJ Smith. Now, keep in mind, we're 11 games into this season before we get all wound up that there should be all kinds of coaching moves and all kinds of decisions on personnel. But yesterday, Pierre said, quote, Pierre Dorion is very loyal. I think DJ has done a good job. He's shown that he can win. DJ is our coach. He's going to be our coach. So a vote of confidence. At the same time, Pierre Dorion is talking in the third person, which I
love it.
Very awkward.
Yeah. He's Jimmy. He's Jimmy from Seinfeld. Remember Jimmy when he was working out in the gym for all you Seinfeld buffs out there? Jimmy likes Elaine. Jimmy's really interested in Elaine. I was watching this morning. I'm watching the highlights. I'm like, when did Pierre Dorian become Jimmy from Seinfeld? I was like, can't believe nobody tweeted out. It was a layup for somebody on Twitter.
Well,
Is that the
think
kiss
of
of
was
death
Ricky
right
Henderson.
now for DJ? No.
No.
Something we were talking about the other day, Wally, with the franchise being for sale right now, and that's no secret. I don't think it's a good thing to have instability. If you're trying to sell something, you would, because the board would have to okay if they wanted to fire
Yep.
DJ or not. It's not just Pierre Dorian's decision. You got to go through the board. So if you're trying to sell something, you're going to want to pay two coaches. And I'm just saying this purely based on economics. I'm not saying DJ should be fired right now, because for the record yesterday, I don't think he should be. I think it's still too early in the season. I think they've only 2 games, the Florida and the Tampa game, where I thought they really got outplayed. But in saying that, I want to see what this team can do by the 20-game mark. I know I'm repeating myself. I said that when we talked yesterday, but it really is true. You've seen some good. You saw the 4-game winning streak. You have some injury issues, right? You have some injury issues right now, but at the same time, tonight's game is really important. It is really important. If they lose that, is DJ going to be fired? I don't think so. I don't think so for 2 reasons. Number one, it's too early. And number 2, it doesn't make financial sense to let a coach go and pay 2 coaches when you're trying to sell a hockey team. It doesn't make any sense. I don't see that happening. And I don't think he deserves to be fired yet. I really don't.
Okay, so I'm going to throw this out there, and this is the only way I can see this happening, is if the leadership group of the Ottawa Senator players go to the GM and say, we need to make a move. But I don't see that happening. But is that a possibility?
Brady Tkachuk's off to one of his best starts statistically, I believe, this year. I think Brady Tkachuk's playing some great hockey right now. He's the captain of this hockey club. He's the voice. From what I know, and I'm not inside the room, but I would say fairly certain that Brady Tkachuk is a fan of DJ Smith. And DJ, if DJ could get a mold of a player and say, give me 10 of those guys, it would be Brady Tkachuk's. And that's the one thing about this team, Wally. The way DJ coaches, you listen to him, how he talks. He loves guys to play hard, play physical, be disruptive on the ice. And when you look at the top players on the Ottawa Senators, at least last year, Timmy Stützle plays with some edge. Brady Tkachuk obviously plays with some edge. I think Josh Norris plays a little bit of edge in his game as well. Same with Batherson. And I look at the DeBrincat trade again, and I think DeBrincat is an excellent hockey player. He's got tons of skill. He's a 40-goal scorer. The way he fits into the schematics of the Ottawa Senators right now, I just didn't see it in the summer. Like, I know it looked good because he was a 40-goal scorer, but listen, he's not the reason this team is losing, but you look at the way this team's built, and I think they got a little bit away from their identity on what they were building on last year of being a really hard team to play against. And listen, injuries, Zub, Norris, I get it. But the way DJ coaches, he wants a hard team to play against. And that type of team is really tough to beat in the playoffs. The problem is you got to get to the playoffs. And to get to the playoffs, you got to win hockey games. And right now they aren't. So I just think I don't love that move that was made in the summer. I just don't. They should have got a defenseman. They didn't. They spent the money elsewhere. I know it's out there that defenseman wasn't there to be got, but man, Nick Paul would look really good on this team right now after what I saw in the playoffs. And it wasn't a lot of money to sign Nick Paul. He would have signed for $3 million a year. And then you use that $6 million to get a defenseman as well. Different. I know the team was managing their finances differently last year, and the move was made. But I'm just saying, to me, Nick Paul is a DJ Smith type of player, and the way this team's built right now, who knows? Maybe they'll prove me wrong, and they'll go win 10 games in a row, and I'll look like an idiot. But the players place right now, Wally, I don't think they're the right mix right now for and injuries, blah blah blah, all that stuff. I just don't think they're the right mix.
Part of it, I don't know this to be fact, but it now makes more and more sense as we move forward here. Is they brought in Giroux and they brought in DeBrincat and they've tried to fill out the roster to bolster it for the sale and to sign some of the players to bigger contracts, not to devalue it, but to pump it up and to put together a competitive lineup. So I think that played a part in it as well, because there's not much different between last year and this year, but they did open up the pocketbooks, and now the team is for sale if you draw the comparisons.
I'll tell you what the difference is. Last year, this team was a harder team to play against physically. Like when you got to go against guys that play the right way and just play a little bit of a simpler game, you're really tough to play against. Like, I loved where this team was going last year. I thought they had enough skill up front. I really did. And this is no slam on DeBrincat. He's a really good player. He's an excellent player. But when you have a guy like that, and everyone's going to start getting on DeBrincat, they're going to say, "Why isn't he scoring? Why isn't he scoring?" Because you have a lot of guys up front that are supposed to score, and when you spread it out, and you have to split your power play in two, nobody's going to get 40 goals. It can't work that way, because no team starts a year that doesn't know who their first power play is. And you'll say, well, yeah, maybe Colorado and St. Louis do. No, they don't. Cale Makar starts every power play. Nathan McKinnon starts every power play. And then you get rolling, you get your touches, you get confidence. And I just think when they made that move and they had to start the year with 10 guys that are power play guys, to me, you're just a little bit of an easier team to play against 5-on-5. And then your coach has to figure out which guys start the power play all the time. It's a lot tougher than people think on the coach.
Fair enough. I still think the move, I quite like it, only because if you can find a way to acquire a 40-goal scorer, I think you do it, is that you can fit it into your roster. I just think that it's so hard to find one that you go out and if you can, you get them.
So let me play. So what happens to your 30 or what did Norris get last year?
35.
35 goals. 35 goals. And then you have Batherson as your bumper on your power play, who does a great job. Tkachuk's your net front. And then who's going to be the franchise player here for the Ottawa Senators? Timmy Stützle. When Timmy Stützle has the puck on his stick, magic is created. So who are you taking off that power play to put Alex DeBrincat on? Because he should be a first power play guy, right? He has to be a first power play guy. Who are you taking off? I don't know.
Even the dogs are upset about this.
I know, my dog's going nuts. Red's dog was upset earlier. My dog's upset. But I've albeit I didn't coach at I coach at the junior level, and a lot of times as a coach, you're wondering, who am I going to put on the power play? What's going to go on? And okay, I'll just play the best players on the power play. Sometimes your top unit's not going to score in the first minute, and then all of a sudden they stay on for that extra 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and they put it in the back of the net. It's just, and I haven't talked about Claude Giroux. Claude is dynamite on the power play. He's a first unit guy. He's a guy that's made a living on a power play. Mm-hmm. I just think it's really tough. Now with Norris out of the lineup, it's a little easier to manage. But hey, this isn't the number one reason they're losing. Let's not forget, they're making mistakes. They're making key mistakes. There's defensive breakdowns. A little bit of nitpicking here with the power play and all that. But I didn't like the move in the summer. I think the opposite, because I'm a defenseman and I value players that are really hard to play against. And I just thought, when they let Nick Paul go, and I'm not behind the scenes, I don't know the inner workings. I know it was a different mindset, but I'm like, guy's playing second line center for Tampa Bay in meaningful playoff games. He's 6'5", and more importantly, he wanted to be in Ottawa. He wanted to be here for not a lot of money. For the life of me, I don't know how you let a guy like that go. I really don't. And all of a sudden, you're having issues right now at the center ice position, right?
Yep. And I'll bring up I'm sure Alex Formanton was another guy that plays with an edge. He's nasty to play against. I know why
Hard
he's
to
not in
play
the
against.
lineup, and I know he's unsigned. All
Yeah.
that stuff aside, he's obviously that type of player that's missing in that lineup as well. There's a little bit of bite that comes with him, and it was certainly a welcome part of his game that really got under
Yeah.
the skin of
He came a
opposing
long
players.
way
So,
last year, Wally. Yeah, he came a
yeah,
long way last year.
yeah.
I thought he was
So
a guy that. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yep. So we'll see how that all plays out, and as we wait for this Hockey Canada investigation to unfold here. And finally, and we'll make this quickly, I guess, is JBD is going to play tonight. Goes from, I'll call it a healthy scratch, to playing alongside Thomas Chabot, apparently, on the top pairing, as Nikita Zaitsev is out. Like, what do you see from JBD, or what do you expect to see from a guy that's played 13 NHL games here?
Keep it simple. Take your first look on every breakout, and be solid for Thomas Chabot. Thomas Chabot's, it's no secret, he's been struggling a little bit with his game. It looks like I'm not going to say his confidence are down, but he's doing un-Thomas Chabot-like plays out there. So Docker's just got to be solid. I've heard he's played well in Belleville. So just do what you did in the minors. Don't complicate things. Play simple, and I think he'll be effective.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I don't know. I don't believe him to be nervous, if you will. I know he's played up here before, and he's played a lot of big games. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Now, it's tough, though, if there ends up being a lot of special teams play, or I'm going to say if the Sens get down or get behind, you may not see him as much, and that would be, I guess, the deterrent. But I would like to see him play as much as possible to get a kind of a gauge on where he's at.
I think Jack Capuano and DJ, they'll watch him early, and if he's, you can tell early if a player is comfortable and he's got some confidence. Docker, to me, appears to be a confident kid, though. He's got a little swagger, and if he's going to be a player in the National Hockey League, it's going to be a defensive guy, more of a shutdown guy, and that's what they need right now. They just need. It's the old saying: if we don't notice Jacob Bernard Docker tonight, if we don't notice him, it's going to mean he's played a pretty good game. That's the type of player that JBD is going to be. Just steady Eddie, go out there, and in time, I think this guy is going to be a guy that he's going to be like one of those guys that coaches just put out there, kind of like a Zub. You put a Zub out there because when he's out there, you just trust him. And right now, that's pretty tough to find with what's going on with some of these glaring mistakes. So I think with Docker, he has got a golden opportunity to go out there and hopefully stay here for a long time for his sake. Okay,
so who wins tonight? Big game for both teams. Vancouver is trying desperately to figure itself out. So who do you pick?
Okay, I don't have the stats in front of me. Canucks are coming in, Wally. They didn't play. They're not playing back-to-backs, right?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, it's not a back-to-back. You're still traveling. With the Senators, it's an important game, home game. They've lost 5 in a row. I think they're going to get a good effort from Cam Talbot tonight. He's starting the game. I'm going to say the Senators win this game. I get empty netter. I think they win this game 4-2.
Interesting. Okay, so does Alex DeBrincat get a goal?
I think Alex DeBrincat's going to make me look like an idiot and probably score 2 goals tonight. Because this guy's he's a really good player. And people are going to say, Jason York said Alex DeBrincat was a bad trade. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying for the makeup of this team, he'd be a great player on a ton of teams. If you want him to score 40 goals, he has to play your first power play, and he's got to be on there for about 1 minute and 20, 1 minute and 30. He's the type of guy you give him time and space, he makes a lot of outstanding plays out there. He's a small guy, but he's fast, he's smart, and I think DeBrincat's gonna have a good game tonight. The law of averages, some of those shots that he's just missing on, they're eventually going to go in for him. I think tonight a couple of those go in. Yep. I think 2 goals tonight for DeBrincat make me look like an idiot, and they win 4-2.
Vancouver just starting a 5-game road trip. They'll play tomorrow night in Montreal. So we'll see how this plays out for a very pivotal part for their season, I would think, at 5 games on the road. Yorkie, I appreciate you stopping by. As always, great chat with Chris Phillips and Wade Redden as part of Alfie Week continues. Are we able to say who the next guest is for Alfie Week?
It's going to be a big one. Had to work hard for this one. He's got a book out right now, and we're going to go across the seas all the way to Bratislava, Slovakia. Marian Hossa is going to be our next guest.
Hall of Famer.
Another Hall of Famer, which kind of ties in nicely with Alfie Week. You'll talk about his induction, but a lot of people know Marian Hossa. He's a guy that Ottawa Senators fans, they love this guy. Such a great player, Wally. And we lived beside each other back when Hossa used to play here in Ottawa, and used to have him and his mom over for dinner. He is such a good person. Not only a great player, but one of the best guys in the game. And I'm really excited to get Hossa on with us. Undercover sense of humor as well, Wally. Funny guy.
Yes.
And hopefully we can prod Hoss for a few good stories and talk about his book as well as Daniel Alfredsson.
I do have one story that I will share about the night my now wife picked us up from the Bulldog Bar with Martin Havlat in the car. I will tell that story. Anyway,
Nice.
Until
Nice.
then, we'll see. I'll see you Thursday, I guess, for the next show.
Have a good one, Wally.
Perfect, Yorkie. See you, pal. That's the Coming in Hot, brought to you by Renfrew Pro Tape. We'll see you next time, everybody.